Thanks, Daniela, and it's a pleasure to be here today and speaking with your members. I'm talking about my favourite topic at the moment, e-invoicing, and I'm hoping after this event, many of your listeners also will be able to champion the same topic with their clients or with their business partners. So let's kick off and I'll try and explain a little bit about what e-invoicing is to start with on the first slide. And sometimes it's better to talk about what it's not, but we see invoicing as the software to software transaction with the invoice. So it's about a structured invoice that travels between your software and your trading partner's software. Ray will talk a little bit about what that looks like in practice shortly, but I will firstly though talk about what it's not. In this case, sometimes it's easier to explain. It's not about having an email and attaching a PDF. Now that's the traditional way that about 80% of Australian businesses currently use with their invoices. We also see a whole host of different OCR or scanning capabilities that people also use to try and drive efficiency when managing and processing invoices. But that's not what it's about. Another myth is that when you've got this automated transaction happening between your software and the other person's software, that when you receive it, that maybe they'll automatically get paid. Well, the system's not that clever. You need to put an extra smarts in to do that. But yeah, that's one of the myths we commonly hear, that people think it goes from right through to payment. It's about, in the first instance, it's about just the invoice itself. Let's have a look at now how conceptually it would work on the next slide. So the heading there is how Peppol works in practice. Now, firstly, there's a new acronym there, or new name there called Peppol. People wouldn't have heard of that. Peppol is simply the international invoice that's been adopted by Australia and New Zealand to facilitate electronic invoicing in our countries. So it's an international standard covering 34 countries already and growing in the world. That obviously then facilitates assistance for people who have got suppliers or buyers who are actually overseas. So the concept is using what we call a four-corner model. The first two corners, corner 1 and 4, are traditionally yourselves and your trading partners. Underneath that, though, is the corners 2 and 3, which is really the network that the transaction passes in through between software to software. It's not unique to Australia. We've had the banking system, our telcos, all operate on a conceptual model no different from this. When you need to pass from many senders to many receivers, you need a four-corner model, and this is traditionally what we use around the world for many of these sort of instances. The main focus I just wanted to call out today, which is a new concept, is corner 2 and 3, where we have what we call access points. Now these provide the secure, structured exchange of the invoice between you and your trading partner. One of the unique features of the design of the four-corner model is what we call dynamic discovery. In the middle of that page is the addressing service. So you, as the sender of an invoice, don't really need to know anything about your receiver other than a standard identifier. In our case in Australia, we would use an ABN or a GLN or a DUNS number if that's what your trading partner had agreed to receive from. So you don't need to know their street address, their phone number, anything else like that. You just need to know what their ABN or identifier that they're using, and through the automatic lookup, it actually then delivers it to that person. The other advantage of the four-corner model and what we're talking about here is it takes away the need for you to have multiple bespoke standards that you're operating under. The Peppol system, as you're using the access points below, enable them to actually translate and move the data to your sender regardless of what software they're using and regardless of what platform they're on. And that's the beauty and the ease of what we're talking about. So if we just go back and now talk a little bit more on the next slide about the benefits of e-invoicing. So firstly, there's the three main themes I'd like to talk about. Firstly, about ease or productivity. So what it means is there's going to be less follow-up, less correction, less late afternoon, evening type of follow-up with different parties to try and get a correct invoice provision so that either you can get paid or you are able to pay. There's a degree of automation and calculations built into the system, so it takes away errors, human-made errors that could occur time to time. You've also got, importantly, confidence that your client has received an invoice. Too commonly we hear about people now have got a practice where they send the invoice, then make a phone call to check that they've actually received it in their email system to give us confidence that, yes, I know I'm now going to get paid in the terms that I agreed with that person. So this gives them acknowledgement and takes away that extra effort, not on your side, but also on your buyers or trading partners' side as well. In the future, we see all your EDI type solutions also having an additional channel which will accept the Peppol invoice. So again, you're then able to operate within your software package, not having to operate in your trading partner's portal or other mechanism that they might seek you to do so. Obviously, that stacks up to a lot of productivity benefits, and that can be in the way of a lot of time that people can save, or even mean that there's cost, and the cost could be of your employees having to do work which otherwise they would not have to do. Another key feature is about being faster. So case studies have already shown us that if you're sending digital invoices to your buyers, buyers traditionally are now paying about 7 days quicker. So that really does mean a great deal of cash flow improvement if you can get a payment in 7 days than otherwise you would have. Secondly, the government has has implemented a policy that if you send a digital invoice to federal government, we'll pay you in 5 days from provisioning of that invoice. So again, that's speeding up the way that you will get your payments in the future. New South Wales government has also implemented a similar policy, and I expect other government regions will consider different policies in this regard to get faster payments to business. Lastly, it's about safety. What we're relying upon here is a proven international framework, as I said, in 34 countries. So it's actually got a lot of good credibility, also allows you to actually trade with your international trading partners. There is a security standards built into the system, so you can give confidence that you've got strict IT requirements that our access points need to adhere to and the solutions that would adhere to. It means that there's no more emails or scams that come through email systems, ransomware we're hearing a lot more of lately. These sort of things that are concerns to us and risk to our business viability that we're removing us out of the system to give you that confidence. Lastly is about, even though it is safe as possible, we're not taking away degrees of quality you have in your normal processes and procedures that you or your staff run through. So we're not taking them away. We still recommend you make sure you continue with those. So one of the common questions I do get now is about the role of the ATO. And if I go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about why the ATO is talking to you about the invoicing being a new initiative of the government. So firstly, the ATO plays a dual role here. One, we've been given legislation to implement e-invoicing into the Australian economy. Now, there's not a mandate for this. We see there's major productivity benefits for the economy, and hence that's why a mandate hasn't been provided. But we've got then a regulatory role to actually ensure that the standard and the governance activities around the access points, the security standards are met to ensure it gives confidence to the users of the network. Effectively, we are governing that network you saw on the corner 4 model that you saw in a couple of slides prior. We received that legislation in October last year, and that gives us that authority to do so. The other reason the ATO is involved is our history of working with business and software, doing large transformational projects. So you would have heard of things like SuperStream a few years ago or currently. Single touch payroll, people are dealing with that right now. More recently, though, of course, was JobKeeper and JobKeeper 2 coming through. So these are initiatives where we've had to deal a lot with business rolling out large transformational programs, and we see e-invoicing no different to that for the Australian economy going forward into the future. We've also got really great relationships with software providers, both at the small business end right through to large ERP systems. So we're leveraging off those relationships and leveraging off the capability those software companies provide to the Australian economy to give us a great platform and great experience for people using e-invoicing. The other myth I'd like to bust for the day is around the data. So when you send an invoice from yourself through to your buyer or the provision of the service, none of that is shown to the ATO. We don't have any infrastructure or any reporting that happens in the network. The only reporting we have is from our access points, which tells us the volume of invoices flowing through the economy. So I just want to assure people that the ATO is not looking at it or has access even to any of the invoices. Next, I'll just talk about some more of the drivers for e-invoicing on the next slide. Overall, the government's got a real strong desire to have greater digitisation of business, and that kind of makes our eco-efficient more efficient. And certainly as we move out of COVID, or as we move towards COVID recovery, that's going to be even more and more important for us as an economy. And this is just another reason why we would see business who don't yet embrace full digitisation of the business. This just gives them the opportunity to onboard their software provider to give them greater efficiency and greater peace of mind. What we're seeing at the moment in its early days of e-invoicing, but we expect with those software packages going out in the market before Christmas, it'll enable over 1 million small businesses in the Australian economy. That's going to be enormous change, enormous capability that small business will have at their fingertips to start transacting with government, with other small businesses, and potentially over time with their large business clients. So that really then starts the start of a new ecosystem with digital invoices. When I talk about government adoption, so government wants to show leadership to the participants in the system, give confidence that this is not, that is of value to themselves, is that we've already started implementation in the federal government sphere. So we have 5 agencies currently enabled. New South Wales government is a leader in the state government area, and they've got 26 agencies already ready to receive e-invoices. So what we expect both here at the federal level, but also in New South Wales over the next 12 months, we'd expect a large majority of all our agencies to be able to be receiving e-invoices and paying you in 5 days. That's right, not only is the federal government paying 5 days, New South Wales is also paying in 5 days, which is a great initiative by the government there. My final message before I hand back to Ella is about this is coming. So if you're thinking about this and what you need to do, obviously if you're a tax agent or a bookkeeper who've got clients, please alert them to the fact that this is coming. They can start then talking to their software companies as to when they'll be available. We obviously will be communicating as those dates become known to us, and we'll be able to push that into the community. One part of that is also then working closely with your suppliers to actually alert them that you're actually thinking of going e-invoicing. Will they be also upgrading their software to have the invoicing as well, and enable you both to benefit from the greater efficiencies, the security and confidence that invoicing will give you and your trading partner. So that's my key messages for today, and I'm going to pass back to Daniela.